Hi everyone, my name is Sabina and I've been a teacher for 30 years now, and I also tutor children for their SATs, their 11 plus, and also foundation level GCSEs in English and maths. Today we're going to look at a maths question to do with charts, tally charts, graphs, etc. And rather than just giving you the answer to the question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what children learn through the years from year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in order to answer this question. Now, the point of doing it like this is to show you how the knowledge that they learn in year 1 and through the years builds on the previous year so that they can then answer their SATs questions at the end. So they can't really miss years out because there is a building process involved. And also it shows you how the sequence works in schooling. So if you're either home educating your child or you are helping them with their homework, schoolwork, anything like that, then this will help you understand how the process works. So let's dive in and have a look at the question. Okay, so here we have question 3 from the 2024 SATs paper. Now, I think this is from the reasoning paper, and in the question it says, Layla played basketball. This graph shows how many points she scored in her first 3 games. After 4 games, Layla has scored a total of 25 points. Complete the graph. Use a ruler. So we can see from here that there is a gap under game 4. So they need to write or draw the bar that fits here and work out what the answer is. Now, what I'm going to do, rather than go through how to work this out, I'm going to actually go through the years that children would learn the different parts of this to get to this point. So let's start here. So in year 1, children don't actually learn bar charts and things like that. What they do is they would get a pictogram. So it's a drawing and they just have to count. So they're usually just counting up to 10. And the idea is for them to recognize that numbers, things fit into a chart. So it's to introduce charts to them. Now, excuse the spelling of a favorite and color because clearly this is American and not spelt the way we'd spell it in English in England. So here, children would only have to count how many yellow colors there are. So for example, here they can see that there are 5. If they look at the red, then they can see that the last one here represents 7. They would then look at this and then say, right, the green, there are 3 of them, and then for the blue, there are 2 of them. So the idea is not necessarily for them to count every blotch, so they don't go, right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would actually look at the numbers down here and identify how many numbers or how many things there are by looking at the numbers. Okay, so they have to read the chart. That is the idea. Okay, and they don't really count more than 10. So 10 is about the maximum because that's a lot of information for them to process otherwise. So moving along. So here again, we have another chart. This one, they do have to actually count because the numbers aren't drawn on. Usually they would actually have numbers down the side, but here, because it's a pictogram, meaning it's a picturegram, then they just have pictures rather than blocks that they would have later on. So 1 pumpkin, 3 lemons, 2 melons, 4 apples, and 4 oranges. And that's all they need to do. They just need to count how many of each there are. But it's just introducing the concept of this is what a table looks like. Here's a pictogram, and that's easy for them to work out how many of each thing there is. Okay, moving along. In year 2, we've now gone from a pictogram to a simple bar chart. So we don't have the pictures anymore. What we actually have are just colored blocks. And it does the same thing. Now, they should be able to transfer the information from year one to year two simply by um, reading the numbers from the chart. So green is 4, blue is 2, and the cows, the pink is 8. And it is just a case of reading the chart. But with this, the children will now need to answer some questions. So, for example, they may get a question like, which animal is the favorite? So clearly the animal that's a favorite is the one that has the most bars colored in. And they don't need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8. They can just look at the chart and go, right, there's 8 people who like cows more than they like the other 2 animals. So that is the favorite. Which is the least favorite? So then again, they look at the chickens and go, that's the smallest bar. Well, there's 2 people that like that, so that's the least favorite. And then they would then have to work out, well, how do you know? Well, the answer is because they see how tall the bars are. And that tells them how many people like cows more than rabbits and chickens, etc. And they'll also start to understand that these numbers represent the number of people who actually like something. So here it's a chart that's telling them about what people like. Okay, so moving on. So now we have a simple bar chart in year 3. Now you will notice that this does not have little blocks for them to add up like we had in year 2. And if you have a look at the numbers are significantly bigger. So you wouldn't have 80 blocks drawn in for them to count one at a time. So now we're really going into children getting the information from the chart itself. So if we have a look at the questions, it says, which season is the most popular? Well, according to this chart, the season that's the most popular is fall, or we would call it autumn in England. And there are 80 people that like fall or autumn. Then it says, which is the least popular? Well, the least popular is the summer, probably because in America it would be really, really hot. So 20 people liked summer because probably in other countries it's much hotter than it is over here. And then how do you know? Well, we know because of the length of the bar. Now, obviously, we're not counting little blocks anymore. We just have to get the numbers from the sides. And now we have a calculation question because it says, how many more people like fall than spring? So if we have a look at fall, there are 80 people that liked fall, possibly because it's cooler in that country. And 60 people liked spring. So to find out how many more people liked fall, you would take 60 away from 80, which would give you 20. So 20 more people liked fall than spring. Okay, so that is how they would work that out. Now moving along. Now, in year 4, children actually start to do the tally chart, which means they start to carry out investigations themselves. And they would use a tally chart where they would ask maybe in the class, what was their favorite fruit or how did they come to school? Things like that. And then they would do a tally. So here, I haven't got a title for this chart, but I'm going to assume that this title could be something like, what is your least favorite insect? I'm just making that up. So if that was the investigation that was done for this tally, then we can see that 11 people found spiders, didn't like spiders as much. Or 22 people that said they didn't like ants, 3 people said they didn't like snails, 6 people said they didn't like butterflies, and 8 people said they didn't like bees. So if it was a chart for the least favorite insect, then the children would represent one line for one person, and then they would draw 4 lines to represent 4 people, and then draw a line through the 4 if there's 5 people. Now, a tally chart then shows children that they need to count in fives. So here, if we look at this pictorial representation, we see there's 5, 10, and then one more is 11. And then you write the number, the frequency at the end. Here we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, and then two more. And then we write the number 22, which is the frequency at the end. And we do that for the rest of the chart. So this is how children would then go and conduct their own surveys and tabulate their results. They learn how to count, well, not necessarily count in fives, because they should already be counting in fives or be able to count in fives when they get to year 4. But now they can see the practical reasons for counting in fives and representing the pictures and then turning them into numbers so that it is easier to count and easier to see. So moving along, they then would take the tally chart and then turn it into a bar chart of their own. So they would have, so down here it says votes, and then the number of people down the side. And so here, if they'd done a tally on fruit, what was the most popular fruit, then this would be a bar chart from the tally chart that they created. So they would have to do both in year 4, creating a tally chart, doing a survey, and then converting it into a bar chart. So then, if we have a look at these questions, which fruit got the most votes? So obviously the bar, that's the tallest. So here it's 8. So 8 people preferred bananas. And then how many votes did plums get than peaches? Or how many more votes did the plums get than peaches? So now to work out how many more, we actually have to do a subtraction or take away. And the children would have to look at plums, which is 5, and peaches, which is 1, and then take 1 away from 5. So the answer would be 4. How many more votes did the grapes get than the oranges? So grapes got 6, oranges got 2. Take the 2 away from the 6. The answer is 4. How many less votes did the pears get than the bananas? So the bananas was 8. Pears was 5. Take 5 away from 8, and the answer is 3. Now we've got other questions which tests whether it's true or false. So bananas got twice as many votes as apples. So they need to have a look at the value of the bananas, which is 8. Look at the apples, which is 4. We know 4 is half of 8. So which then also means 8 is double 4. So then twice as much is double. So now we're testing children's vocabulary in order to answer this question, and this would be true. So they would need to understand that twice as many means double the amount, and it also tests the maths because 8 is double 4 and 4 is half of 8. Okay, so then we look at the next question, which says grapes got twice as many votes as oranges. Is this true? So grapes got 6, oranges got 2, but 2 is not half of 6. So that can't be twice as many because 2 is not half of 6 and 6 is not double 2. So it's not twice as much either. So that one would actually be false. And the answer is no. Is it true? No. So then how many children votes? How many children votes for apples or bananas or apples? So now we actually need to add both of those together. So because it's bananas or apples. So we look at bananas, it's 8. We look at apples, it's 4. So add the 2 together, it's 12. So how many votes in total for bananas or apples? Then the answer is 12. So as you can see, children need to be able to answer questions from the bar chart, not just create it, not just do a tally, and they have to do the whole process of gathering information and tabulating it, and then extracting the information from the bar chart that they produce. And they do that by answering different questions. Okay, moving along. So now when they get to year 5, they should be able to understand that information is presented in a chart and that they can get information from that chart and they can fill in missing parts of a chart. So even though the chart now is a lot more complex, the fact that they have worked with charts gives them that recognition that they've worked with charts before and they know they have to extract the information. So if we have a look at these questions, the journey B takes an hour to get from Dumfries to Glasgow. What time do you arrive at Glasgow? So let's have a look at Glasgow. So Glasgow's here. They need to fill in this missing space here. And we know that the Dumfries journey starts at 11:30. And we're told in the question it takes an hour. So 11:30, add an hour on, then they would reach Glasgow at 12:30. So the missing number here would be 12:30. Then journey C takes a total of 3 hours. What time does it arrive in Inverness? So let's have a look. So journey C, so we're looking at journey C. We need to work out what time it's going to arrive in Inverness, which is over here. So it takes them a total of 3 hours. So what they would actually need to do is add up the time here, take it away from 3 to work out what the missing number is here. So work out the missing time here. Okay. And then for this one, how long does journey A take? To work that out, they would need to be able to add up the times and then work out the duration or the total time and put it in here. And you need to be at Perth for 13:30, which is the best journey to take. So we look at the Perth timetable here, and it says we need to arrive at 13:30. So if we take journey B, we would arrive at 13:55, which would be too late. 17:15 is way too late. So the best journey to take would be A, and they would write down A. Okay, so it's all about extracting information from the table. Moving along, in year 5, they also need to be able to read line graphs and also extract the information from line graphs too. So let's have a quick look at this one. So use the line graph to answer the following questions from the data. So how many cars were sold during May? All they have to do is go to May, go all the way up to the line, and then the dot there, go across. 20 cars were sold in May. How many cars were sold in the first 3 months of the year? So they would have to count the first 3 months. So we've got January, February, March. They would go up to March, right? 24 were sold in March, 20 was sold in February. And here they would need to be able to work out that between 14 and 16, there is 15. So 15 cars were sold in January, and then add up these amounts to get the total sold in the first 3 months of the year. Then how many more cars were sold in July than May? And again, we've got, the more, how many more, which means it's a take away sum or subtraction. And they look at May, which is 20. They look at July, which is 26. So then they would take away 20 from 26, and then that would give them 6. So 6 more cars were sold in July than May. And then which month had 26 car sales? Then they simply need to go along here, find 26, go along to the line graph, and then come down to the month, and then see that it is July. Okay, so there's a lot of maneuverability around this chart in order to find the information, but then that gives them the basis of how to read a line graph. moving along, we're going into year 6, and it starts to get a little bit more challenging because now children are going to be combining work with pie charts and fractions and percentages. So they need to work out that a pie chart usually works with percentages, and percentages add up to 100. So all the parts of a pie chart need to add up to 100 to make 100%. And then if they convert that into fractions, fractions add up to 1. So 1 whole is what the total would add up to. So then they have to work out the fractions that would then add up to 1 whole. So moving along, if we have a look at this, I won't go through all these questions, but let's just go through a couple. Study the graph and answer the questions below. So it says, what fraction of the sales are strawberry cakes? So they simply need to look at this pie chart. Strawberry cake is written there, and there are 2/5 that were sold. Okay, so then they'd write 2/5 there. Which cake sold half as much as carrot cakes? So half as much. So we need to look at carrot cakes. So there's 1/10 of carrot cakes were sold. A half of a tenth is a 20th. So a banana cake, the banana cake, there's half as much. There was half as many banana cakes are sold as carrot cakes. So that would go there. So children would need to understand that by halving a fraction, you actually double the denominator. So which cake is 1/5 of the total? They would, well, here 1/5 is the cheesecake. Which cake is the best seller? Find the biggest part. Strawberry cake. What fraction of the total are strawberry and carrot cakes combined? You would then add up, or they would need to be able to add up the strawberry and the carrot. So 1/10, add the 2/5. So they've got some conversion there where they need to convert the fifths into tenths. So 2/5 would be the same as 4/10, then add that to the 1/10, which would give you 4 plus 1 is 5/10, which is the equivalent of a half. So there's quite a lot of calculation for that question, and they need to represent it in the smallest equivalent fraction. But equivalent fractions and working with fractions, that's for a different lesson. And then we have what fraction of the total are cheesecakes, strawberry and chocolate cakes combined. So again, that's another adding up the fractions, but because the cheesecake is written in fifths, the strawberry is written in fifths, which is fine, that's 3/5, but then the chocolate cake is a quarter. We now need to convert our denominators to make sure that they're the same before we can add them together. So that again is for a different lesson, and I will leave that for now. So moving along, we're back to the SATs question we had at the beginning. So we can see now we've gone through all the different forms of graphs and charts and everything that the children have learned over the years. But the bar chart here, even though it's a year 6 question, we can see that they're going to go back to year 5 or year 4 even to work out what the answer is. So in year 6, there's a lot of revision of the previous years. So even though they would have covered pie charts and line graphs and all the other different things in different years, the SATs covers the work that they did previously as well. So they may not have done as many bar charts in year 6. They may have done it as a refresher, but it's mainly taught in the other years, but it still comes up in the SATs. So let's go back to this question. After 4 games, Layla has scored a total of 25 points. So we know for the 4 games that she gets a total of 25. So we simply need to look at the bar for the first one. So this bar tells us between 6 and 8, there is 7. So this bar is worth 7. This bar again is between 4 and 6, so the number between is 5. So 7 and 5 makes 12, and then the bar here is 10. So 12 at 10 is 22. So for the 3 games, she gets 22 points, but in total she gets 25. So take the 22 away from the 25, which is 3. So they would then need to draw a bar from here up to 3, which is halfway between the 2 and the 4 here, and the bar would be 3 here. Okay, and obviously they would use a ruler to make sure it looks accurate. Okay, so now in order for you to support their learning at home, I would suggest they do lots of different puzzles to get their brain thinking about how shapes and things fit together so that when they look at charts and they look at tables, it's more familiar. Carry out surveys and do tally charts and convert them into bar graphs. Do pictograms. They're really fun, especially for the younger children. Make pie charts and draw graphs. So this side of math is very it can be a bit more artistic, should I say, and children really do enjoy learning this side of maths because it's not so much massive calculations. There is a lot more drawing and geometry involved in it. So, and also take them out and show them timetables like bus timetables, train timetables, things like that to get them familiar with understanding that these are things in real life that people use. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions about what I've shared with you or anything else, then feel free to drop me a line and I will answer the question as best as I can in the comments. Otherwise, I actually have a parent and teacher group where I answer your questions, where you can drop me a line in there and I will either write comments and posts and things like that in my group so that I can help you. And also after the end of this session, there is a live Zoom call with the members of my group. And if you would like to join the group, then join that and ask me questions in that group too. So if you have, so anybody who's already a member of my group will be jumping on in about 10 minutes and I will answer any of your questions about what I've covered here today, or if you've got any other questions that you have from the work that you've done with your children that you don't understand, then I'll be happy to pick up those questions with you in our Zoom call too. But for everybody else who is not on this, who is not going to be joining me in 10 minutes backstage, then next week will be the next time that I am on. And again, I'll do my 3 teaching sessions online, but these sessions are only going to be available for a week and then they'll be taken down and they will be archived in the group for the members to access whenever they need. So everybody else has access to these for the next week or so, and then they will be removed and archived. If you would like to attend next week's session, again, they will be on at 9 o'clock. UK GMT time. So I will see you then. And if there are any questions or anything you would like me to cover in these sessions, you know, by all means, put them in the comments and I will cover those as and when I get chance. I also have a free parent teaching magazine which goes out every month. So if you would like access to that delivered free to your inbox, then sign up. The details are also in the link with this description. So for now, I will see you later. I hope that was useful. Thanks. Bye.